I'm the producer and presenter of the All in the Mind program on Radio National. It's a half-hour radio program, but it's also a podcast. Of course, it relates very closely to cognitive science because the brief of the program is about psychology, it's about psychiatry, it's about neuroscience, the brain, the behaviour, people. And it very much tracks the latest science and how it applies to people in their everyday lives. And particularly how it is relevant to mental health. At school I was, I suppose, channelled into science. It was a selective school and it was they were offering this very special kind of science course that I ended up doing, although I was really interested in English literature and art as well. But I decided pretty early, as soon as I'd finished school, that I wanted to do psychology. I was just fascinated by human behaviour and why we behave the way we do. And so I went to Sydney University and did a degree in psychology at Sydney Uni. I started out within the science faculty and then I wanted to broaden it a bit, so I changed to the arts faculty and continued with the psychology and included education and anthropology. So I finished the degree and I was really interested still in that area, although I didn't go ahead and do the postgraduate courses that I would have needed to do if I wanted to become a clinical psychologist, which is what I thought I wanted to do, but just didn't do that and went off and did various other things. After trying a number of different jobs, I actually, by almost accident, walked into the ABC. The ABC were wanting to employ people with degrees and psychology. They thought, well, you might be good to work in the personnel area or in human resources using the psychology. I started out there and in a very boring job, and but realised I was in this media organisation, and during my lunchtimes I'd go and hang out in the radio area and I taught myself to edit. And just thought, wow, nobody ever told me about radio. And I ended up getting a job in radio in the deep end and started making radio programs. And I was doing that for a number of years until I ended up in the science unit in ABC Radio National. And it started to become more and more interesting to me because I was applying a lot of my background to what I was communicating in the radio programs. I became the executive producer of the science unit and worked in that role for more than 10 years, 15 years. And during that time, I started also producing and presenting the All in the Mind program, and it was actually a perfect fit. I'd come kind of full circle, really, that I'd come back to my real love, which was psychology and cognitive sciences. And what I loved about it, about doing it on the radio, was that it was my challenge to make cognitive sciences interesting and engaging for the everyday listener, for a general audience. And so it was working out ways to find stories, find people, tell these stories in a way that makes them feel like they've really learnt something and they now understand an aspect of science that perhaps they didn't know before. However, it wasn't very long before she developed a nasty addiction to gambling, and she will be joining me in the studio very shortly. Cognitive science is an incredibly exciting area at the moment, and that's why I just love this job so much, because I've got the privilege of being exposed to all these really fascinating thinkers and scientists working in such a wide range of different areas, applying cognitive science to such a wide range of different areas. And I think the program itself, All in the Mind, is very, very popular. People just love it. And I think it's partly because the general population is just fascinated by the way the brain works. And one of the reasons that I think it is so exciting is that this realisation about brain plasticity. We now know that it's not a fixed thing, the brain, that it changes. And so the potential of brain plasticity makes the general population realise that there's so much more that can be done. You can apply that to, you know, your own sense of well-being, your mental health. You can apply it to improving yourself. The whole brain training thing requires careful analysis, I guess, about, you know, whether it's hype or whether it's not. But there are so many different areas that relate so closely to people's lives and people's identities that the potential is just enormous and really exciting. Curiosity is really important. I'm just constantly fascinated and curious about cognitive science and brain science. So I think that's essential. I think to have a passion about being able to help people understand cognitive science and the developments in a simple way, but an accurate way. So we need it to be an interesting, engaging story to tell, but it also needs to be accurate. And one of the things that I think my background in cognitive science and psychology has brought for me is I understand the scientific method. So not that needs to come out in the story, that's a bit boring, but if you understand the method and you understand results of scientific studies and how to get them right, to communicate well to the general audience, then it's got a really good grounding. And I think another important thing is to be careful not to overhype the stories and to get the science wrong, but at the same time make it relevant to people. My advice too, if you're a student in cognitive sciences, I would say really follow your passion. You're obviously interested in the area, you've been attracted to the area. It's a fascinating area, and I think it has very broad-ranging application. It's an emerging field that the general population are just fascinated by as well. I would say really apply your curiosity and work hard at it, and you will find that there'll be a whole range of even unexpected opportunities in the workplace where you could really enjoy working in the field.